question that kind of goes along with that a little bit. And the question has to do with how would the Lord have me identify myself? Talking about that blurring the line between that self-deception, that biological, I guess, what is that line difference of the balance between identity as a son of God or as a fallen man? And how is that reconciled? Is it an overarching thing that's one? Are they two different separate things? The identity question.
Well, I'm not certain that I have got a hold of all the dimensions of your question, but let me start, and if you all have views on this, please. I personally am highly suspicious of the assumption that individuals are necessarily correct when they say, I identify as blank. I think that's subject to being a temporary posture that is adopted for reasons beyond the individual's understanding. I say possibly. And yes, how a person experiences herself or himself, that's a really complex question. When Freud and others began to promulgate the doctrine that deep psychiatric problems were generally traceable to the relations of children to their father. And it's more complex than that, but there was a kind of universal self-diagnosis of educated people that this is what happened to them. When I was sort of at the beginning of my professional career, our cultural experience was subject to an intense wave of defections of children from their families and claims that one or more of their parents had abused them as children because under the influence of counselors or therapists or psychiatrists, they had recovered the memory of that happening. And families were torn apart, some of the best families I knew, from these kinds of accusations. And one child would convert another to the belief, and it was horrible. And now, some of the most prominent leaders in the various fields of applied psychology say we were guilty of a terrible mistake. We were all taken in. All of us were taken in by this. So here we are, living in an age that's repeating the pattern in various ways, politically, sexually. This is who I am. I want to find out who I am. And this is how my response bears upon your question. Who am I? I may not be who I think I am now. That may be a trick. Søren Kierkegaard, the great Danish contemporary of Joseph Smith, talked about becoming who you are. Becoming who you are. So it may be a a very deep and destructive mistake to go in search of who I really am. Maybe who I really am begins to emerge when I truly cease to worry about that question and insist upon my answer to it. And start to live out, as David O. McKay used to say, live outside of myself by love. Then maybe it's then, when I'm not inspecting my own navel, that I just find that I am free. There's something about trying to monitor yourself in the quest to become authentic that is deeply inauthentic. And I think those ways of thinking cut right to the heart of the issues about an individual somehow coming to a perfect self-realization. Does that help?